Well, I believe we can start slowly. So, welcome everyone. Uh, so here's a Flutter Forward extended event for GDG Zagreb 2 days before the end that you can host an extended event for Flutter Forward. And so we're gonna have two talks. First, it's gonna be by me, and it's gonna be something in general about Flutter. Maybe maybe I can stop sharing for a moment now. Uh, so we're gonna say a couple of things about Flutter, and then we're gonna then we're gonna watch a short video, the Flutter Forward highlights, and after that, I'm gonna say a couple of things about my favorite things in Flutter Forward, and then we're gonna have a great talk by Cagatay uh, that we're gonna see. And afterwards, at the end, we're gonna have a quiz, a Kahoot quiz with a couple of simple and fun questions. And three lucky winners will receive some prizes that Chahatai has uh, brought to us. So I think we can start with the presentation. Uh, so the first one, uh, I'm gonna say couple of things about how Flutter came to be where it is at the moment. Uh, so the title of the presentation is Sky Even a Limit? And we're gonna see soon why that title is chosen the way it is. We're gonna say how Flutter came to be and where it is now and where Flutter Forward will lead us. A couple of things about me. I'm doing Flutter at Friendly Fire, where we're building mobile and desktop apps in Flutter. One main app, but we have a couple of smaller ones. I'm also organizing GDG Zagreb and Flutter Croatia. Uh, I created a Flutter favorite package called Beamer. It's for navigation. I'm occasionally co-hosting Flutter Dartists on Twitter with Mangerdas and Danny. And I'm also trying to be an open source contributor, speaking at events, stuff. So, what are we gonna talk about? First, I'm gonna say for some of you who aren't familiar with Flutter, I'm gonna say about a couple of basic things about Flutter. Then stats and popularity. How many people are using Flutter? How popular is Flutter as an open source project? Then I'm gonna say a couple of things about cross-platform. Uh, how we can build cross-platform apps in Flutter. I'm gonna say a couple of things about communities and events in Flutter because Flutter is very rich in community. And again, then PubDev, official package manager for Flutter. Then we're gonna say what are the cutting edge stuff, what is currently being built in Flutter, and we're gonna see highlights from Flutter Forward and some stuff in more detail. First, Flutter basics. So Flutter is an open source framework by Google for building natively compiled multi-platform applications from single code base. And it's powered by Dart, which is a programming language for general purpose programming language, but I wanted to say it's the best programming language that I've ever encountered in my life. And when Flutter started in 2015, it was not Flutter yet, it was called Sky. And that's how the title for this presentation came to be, because Sky is apparently not a limit. Flutter can go forward for that. And the first stable version 1.0 was in December 2018. And now in January, on the official Flutter Forward event, they announced the Flutter 3.7. And you can read a lot about Flutter and Dart at flutter.dev and dart.dev. And here on the right side, you can see an official Flutter mascot, which is called Dash. And Dash is female. She's a female bird. About stats and popularity. So Flutter, as you can see, has now over 150,000 stars on GitHub, almost 25,000, maybe now more than 25,000 forks. And it is the third most contributed to repository on all of the GitHub. And this was released in GitHub Octoverse report of 2022. So on Flutter Forward, they announced that there are more than 5 million Flutter developers, which is a huge number, and more than 700,000 Flutter apps currently deployed in the world. Flutter can build on all of the platforms. So we have Android, iOS, web, macOS, Windows, Linux, and embedded systems. So now you might ask, can it be really that easy? And I hopefully have an example to demonstrate something like that. For example, if I move my terminal here, I'm gonna show you some code now. So yeah, here we are. So can it be that easy to build on all platforms? Let's just see the title here. Right now, here I have some basic Flutter application, and for example, I can just run the command flutter run -d Linux, and because I'm on Linux machine right now, and build my desktop application. So here it is. We have a desktop Flutter application that has hello GDG Zagreb. And now maybe if we want to try some other platforms, let's again go to that project and let's try to run it in Chrome. Hopefully it will run it on the correct Chrome, because I have a lot of Chrome windows open now. I mean, it should open another Chrome window, but I just hope it will open it here on this screen. So yeah, desktop is still running. We can pause it. A very simple application. We can just pause or unpause the changing of colors. Always when you're showing something, it takes longer than expected. And yes, it didn't open it in the window that I wanted, but here it is on Chrome, the same application. So it really is that easy, and we can similarly build on all other platforms. Now, because Flutter is so amazing, there are a lot of communities and events. So Flutter has an official Flutter meetup network that has over 70,000 members in over 70 countries. Croatia also has its meetup group here. So you can, if you're interested in Flutter, you can join any Flutter meetup group in your hometown or hometown close to you, and I'm sure they'll have some Flutter specific events. But lately, GDG communities are also doing a lot of Flutter. So yeah, here is, in my opinion, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, conference in Flutter. That's Flutter Vikings in Oslo, but this year it may be somewhere on the boat, hosted in Iceland. And here in the corner you can see this. Here's a picture of me and Cagatay, who's gonna do another talk. We were at Flutter Vikings last year. And as you can see, there were a lot of people, and it was amazing. I keep getting some errors there. So yeah, a little bit more about communities events. Flutter Vikings not the only one. We have Flutter Global Summit, Flutter Europe, Flutter Heroes, Flutter Brazil Conference, Google I/O, of course, and that's mentioning Flutter a lot. And you can find out more about that on FlutterDev/community. The Flutter also has its own Discord, Slack, of course, Stack Overflow, Reddit, GDG groups, of course. So a lot of community is very large. Okay, and then the PubDev. PubDev is a package manager for Dart and then therefore for Flutter also, which hosts, I think, around 50 or 60,000 packages, and Flutter also monitors those packages. So we have Flutter favorite packages that get an official acknowledgement from the Flutter team that they are good as far as code quality and features and the purpose of packages. So we have Flutter favorites to pick from. Of course, you can the most popular packages. There are a lot of official packages that the Flutter team is maintaining themselves, and there are also series on YouTube, package of the week, where you can where Flutter promotes a package and explains it in a very brief and manner. So there are a lot of packages that were trending on package of the week. So now we're slowly getting into a topic of Flutter Forward and what was announced, what is going on at the moment. So what is going on at the moment are a lot of stuff. So game engines in Flutter, the most popular one is Flame, but I believe there were some more. So Flame is the 2D game engine where you can build games in Flutter. Then we have a lot of projects that are kind of focusing on Dart on backend, so that you can build backend services with Dart, and that's Dart Frog and ServerPod. So, and this is an area where we a lot of Flutter community really would like to see improvement, because almost everyone from Flutter community, I haven't met anyone who doesn't like Dart. So we all love Dart, and we would like to use Dart somewhere else than just for Flutter and for building apps. So there is a significant effort in building Dart frameworks for backend, and also for there is a project that's not listed here. It's not that popular, but I've heard of a project which is a complete reimplementation of Flutter rendering pipeline, and it uses Dart on the backend, and it's practically a framework for web applications, but for not web applications that the render UI with Flutter, but Dart applications that render UI with HTML. It's called, I believe, Jasper. Yeah. So yeah, that's a little digression. But here, where were we? So of course there is a significant effort in building Zap, and Zap is a tool or a product to build your entire Flutter applications entirely in the browser, and of course build it and run it. Flutter Fire is a huge community that's dedicated to maintaining the Firebase plugins for Flutter. And there's also here WebAssembly that we're gonna hear something about on Flutter Forward. So Flutter is one of the first frameworks to compile to WebAssembly for web. And Dart 3 Alpha was released, where we are seeing new features and where we're seeing 100% null safety. So Dart was null safe for a long time now, but now we're seeing a complete null safety. That's gonna the main benefit of it would be that now, I mean, without null safety, Dart compiled to machine code would generate, I believe, tens, maybe 50 machine code lines for some simple if statement and assignment. But with complete null safety, it would be just 3 lines. So a lot less machine code, so faster execution and size. And also, one thing here, where here's the dash reading newspapers, because on Flutter Forward, there was announced that Flutter made a Flutter news kit news toolbox. So if you are building an application that's kind of a news application, you can use that perfectly to reduce your development time by 80%, they say. And yeah, now that we're kind of here mentioned what's been going on, let's see some highlights from the Flutter Forward event, and then we'll comment those a bit more. So here is going to be a short video, and I have to switch the tab so you can get the sound too. And please, when I do switch the tab and when I play video, can you just in the chat, can you confirm that you do receive the sound? Now I'm gonna share that specific tab. So here it is. And now I'm gonna play it. And please confirm that you can hear sound.
For those of you who haven't spent much time with Flutter, we're an open source, portable UI toolkit designed to enable beautiful, fast experiences on any platform. Right now, over 5 million Flutter developers have experienced Flutter since Flutter 1.0, and over 700,000 apps have been launched to date using Flutter, from small apps from entrepreneurs to those with over 1 billion downloads. And as GitHub noted in their recent Octaverse, Flutter is one of the top 3 open source projects by contributors.
I'm going to talk about a few things that examples of what's new in Flutter. So we've enhanced Material 3 support, as you've heard already. And this includes migration of widgets such as radio buttons, sliders, and badges to Material 3. We have adaptive layouts, which enables your app's UI to automatically scale to look great on various screen sizes. We've got menu bars and cascading context menus, which are fully customizable to your app's needs.
The video is not full screen. Or am I just seeing that? Maybe. Would this be better? Okay, I think that's the default way. Okay, let's
We've made Impeller, which is the graphics rendering engine that we've been building, available now as a preview for you to use in iOS versions of your app. And to help you with the iOS app release process, the tool now validates some of the settings that you need to be configured before you actually submit to the App Store.
PUBG Mobile 目前全球有10亿玩家，日活跃5000万，由光子工作室及 Craftdown 联合研发。
I am happy to announce Dart 3 Alpha, the first preview of our next major release, and I have 3 things I would like to show you today. We have new language features, we have the completion of a multi-year journey towards safety, and we've expanded on our already comprehensive platform support. Your Dart code now always runs the sound null safety, and you will no longer be able to run without it. For packages on pub.dev, 98% of the top 1,000 packages have already migrated. Thank you. When this code compiled to machine code with Dart 1, our compiler produced 26 machine code instructions to have all the needed runtime checking in place. With sound null safety in Dart 2, we could reduce this down to 10 instructions. And in Dart 3, with sound null safety everywhere, we're now down to 3 instructions. New in Dart 3 is experimental support for the emerging WebAssembly standard.
And a great example of this is Rive. Rive is rapidly becoming one of the most popular ways to build interactive graphics, whether you're targeting Flutter or another platform. And for Rive, the editor itself is written in Flutter on the web. And in fact, it was one of the first things to be built with the web on Flutter. And apps like this, with their complex visual needs and their complex UI needs, are really hard to do without a framework like Flutter. But this version of the Flutter web app is not using JavaScript. In fact, if I go into the dev tools and I make that a little bit bigger, you can see that what we've got here is, instead of the usual sort of main.dart.js, which is normally the big thing that contains everything, we've got main.dart.wasm. And this is the compiled version of this code to WebAssembly. I want to show a second thing, which is called element embedding. Something that we've been working on here enables you to take Dart and Flutter and compile it and put it in a div as a web component, so it can integrate deeply with the rest of the platform. And this is the div here, and you can see that through a bit of JavaScript code, we filled that with the Flutter counter application. So now you can see that I can do the usual things. This is the traditional Flutter counter app. But look, on the left-hand side, what you're seeing here, this is JavaScript. This is a JavaScript text box. And you see that as I continue to increment the button on the Flutter side, that state can be pushed across to the JavaScript side. Better still, I can go the other way as well. So I can hit the increment button on the JavaScript side and affect the state in Flutter. And because what you're looking at here is just a regular HTML div, you can do other things with it. You can, for example, apply CSS. So I could add a shadow effect. That's kind of nice. Or I could resize it in real time. Or I could even switch it into a device mode and skew it. Check that out. But it doesn't just go there, because I can also flip it across. I can go into something like a text field. And these are the things that are often quite difficult to implement. But even in this text field mode, if I switch again back into that device mode, you can see that the text field still works. I can do selection with skews. That's all pretty good. Let's switch it up again a little bit more. Let's make it back into landscape mode. And let's add a spin. Oh, check that out. Okay, but this is live, right? So I can still go backwards and forwards here. And I can select text, and I can it gets quite challenging when I'm doing it in reverse. I can type into it, and it's still working. This is just like a text field in CSS with CSS effects. How about, how about for a bit more fun, I'll just add a CSS mirror effect. So now what you're seeing here is the CSS reflecting of the Dart code here. So again, I can continue to make these changes, and you can see it reflected at the back at the bottom. What do you think? And what you see here is just a very simple example of pixel shaders at work. There's our famous Dash, and with this slider, I can change how pixelated she is. And this is exactly the same code that Eric wrote and demonstrated for mobile, but we've just taken it and transformed it, or just taken it and compiled it for the web. And now I can do all these kind of really crazy cool effects, like adding this kind of pointillism sort of view. And you can see that this is just what goes on as it's loading different images and applying these pixel shaders.
But over the past year, we've continued to add lots of exciting new features. We've been improving text input, We've been adding support for foldable devices and variable refresh rate. We've been simplifying release processes, enhancing our developer tooling, and improving performance. All right, let's consider a news app. I think we can all agree that more and more people are reading news on their phone. But for developers, that means building navigation and search, authentication, ad integrations, profiles and subscriptions, notifications. It's a lot of work. So to help with this, we're excited to announce that the first version of Flutter's News Toolkit is now available for everyone. First up, I have my Samsung Tab 8, which is a pretty big tablet. And I can swipe through the app and see these beautiful graphics, all this great imagery. And it looks really nice on this larger screen, right? But now with these tablets, we have lots of different multi-display modes. So I can drop a new app into view and see it resize. And it still looks really natural on this new format. Now let me add another one, and we'll see it resize again, looking great. So let me get rid of this one down here and make it even narrower. And still, we see that it looks beautiful, even on this really narrow screen that it's left with. Okay, so like I said, this looks great, but let's head over to a different screen. I'm going to go over to this view where I can see a timeline of different events for that wonder. Here they're vertically stacked, and I can scroll through. Now when I open it, I'll scroll down to that same page, and we can see that we have a whole new format. Right, so this is really just two screens side by side, and we're taking advantage of that by having the imagery on the left-hand side and the scrollable events on the right-hand side. So say I want to start tracking my daily steps in a new pedometer app. On Android, I might use the new Health Connect client, and on iOS, maybe I want to use the CM pedometer class that's part of the core motion framework. So in the past, we'd probably use method channels to call these APIs. But that can sometimes require a lot of code. So now looking forward, our vision is that you can call all these APIs directly from Dart. So I have this fun little kaleidoscope app, and it has some animations that were created by clipping a whole bunch of different SVGs. So on the left-hand side, I have my build that's using Skia, which is our current default renderer. And as we're scrolling down the page, we can see that it struggles a little bit. It's only rendering at about 7 to 10 frames per second. But on the right-hand side is our build using Impeller, which looks really smooth. It's rendering at like 60 frames per second. Can we get our cool 3D logo? Ah, there we go. All right, so who wants to see me make a 3D dash painted entirely in Flutter? All right, let's give it a try. So right now I have a pretty simple widget, or a pretty simple app rather. It just has an image widget to display a 2D version of Dash that's created from this PNG file. So nothing fancy. She's looking cute, but I really want to make her 3D. So let me go ahead and switch out this widget over here. And instead, we're going to use a scene. And scene accepts a node, which can take an asset. And in this case, my asset is going to be a model file. It's actually something called a GLB file. So I'll save that. Oops. And reload. And she's 3D. So she's just in this cool little light box, and we can turn her around and see how she's looking. So I think Dash looks pretty nice, but 3D gets really cool when we can add in animations. So I'm going to go ahead and add in an animation. These are just saved in my file already, so I just call them by their name, which in this case is walk. I'll save, and again, hot reload, and we can see her walking around. Ooh, cool. But the thing is that we were just talking about performance, so I think we need to turn it up a notch, right? Instead of just showing a single dash, I think we want to show a whole bunch of dashes. So I have my helper function called many nodes, and I'm going to wrap it around my node object. Press save. Again, we'll hot reload. And now we have a whole bunch of dashes. It's actually a cube of dashes, 7 by 7 cube to be exact. So that's 343 dashes walking around. So that means more than 10,000 individual joints that are being evaluated at every frame with hot reload. Thank you, Impeller.
Hello there.
Okay,
We're super happy to be here.
that was the highlights from Flutter Forward. And let me share my slides again. Because you have to switch, because otherwise there will be no sound if it's not a shared tab. So yeah, that's what we saw. So kind of it can be summarized pretty well in this image. So there are kind of 4 categories. First one, breakthrough graphics performance, where we saw Impeller and how it improves the rendering and FPS count. We're gonna see that video again if you haven't seen it in enough detail. And there's also a lot of work in shaders. We have even a library for playing around with shaders. It's called Umbra, I think. And the 3D support. 3D support is starting to get into Flutter. Flutter was always like a 2D engine, but it's starting to get there 3D also. So it's opening doors to 3D games in Flutter. As you remember, Flame is a 2D game engine, but support for 3D is coming. And there's a second category is like a seamless integration for web and mobile. And what we mean by that is the element embedding that we saw in the video, where in the HTML in a web app where there's embedded Flutter application that's communicating with native JavaScript and native elements from HTML. And the equivalent for that for that seamless integration on mobile, on Android and iOS, is GNI-Gen and FFI-Gen. GNI-Gen is a library for generating bindings to native Kotlin and Kotlin APIs, and FFI-Gen is for bindings to C libraries. We already had FFI library that you can, and then of course you can write codes to connect to native C libraries, but now FFI-Gen makes that even easier. And then the third category, early to new and emerging architectures, we saw it mentioned that Flutter on web can now be compiled to WebAssembly, and Flutter is one of the first ones to do that. There's also to some other compiling to other architecture like RISC. And then continued focus on developer experience. That mostly means the improvements on Dart language itself. So Dart 3 Alpha, as we saw, has a lot of great new features that we're gonna also see on another slide. Sound null safety and Google News Toolkit, and the Wonders app is an example of really what you can do with Flutter on and to look beautiful. Okay, I keep pressing my arrow and it doesn't want to go to the next slide. So yeah, for those of you who haven't seen the comparison between the old Skia rendering and Impeller, here it is. So here's a graph, and here is the average of 7 frames per second. Here 60 frames per second consistently, and now we can see that in more detail in this video. So on the right is Impeller, on the left is Skia. maybe visually not so obvious on the stream probably, but you can see the numbers here. Okay. So that's really a big thing coming through the Impeller engine. It's still in like a preview mode. You can try it out, but it's definitely not merged into stable releases yet. And here's the efforts on 3D rendering that we also saw, but here's a close-up look on it and how Impeller is aiding building of multiple 3D objects effortlessly. And here are some features of Dart that we may not have seen. So here is the patterns in Dart. So previously in Dart, you could always return just a single value from a function. And now a record, these are records. So record is a collection of values that you can return. And then you can deconstruct this record, and that's meant by pattern matching. So you can deconstruct that return collection into new variables or existing ones. So when you put it like that, those are new variables, but you can assign the record to new variables, to existing variables too. And there was a lot of improvements in Dart that are not mentioned here in the various type of classes. So here we see an example of sealed class, and there's also going to be an explicit mixin class and explicit interface keyword for classes. And here we can see how we can use pattern matching in switch statement on types also, and on their properties like this. So we can write a switch statement like this. Previously, now without Dart 3 alpha, you can do this code in a bunch of if statements, and you could definitely cannot destruct the properties like that. So that's huge, huge new language features. And yeah, all of that you can find on mostly these things. So here's the entire stream you can find for Flutter Forward live event. It's, I believe, a couple of hours long. Here's these are two main articles on Medium. There's a lot of articles on Medium by various authors for what happened on Flutter Forward, but these are two official articles by Tim Snead and Michael Thompson. So you can read about that in more detail. And so here we came at the end of this presentation, and now let's talk about a little bit about what's next today. So today, Cagatay will tell us about his experiences using Flutter in a growing company, and that company is Wolt. And Wolt and Cagatay are providing these coupons for 10 euros on Wolt that you can use. And we're going to give away 3 of them to the lucky winners of the quiz that's going to be after his talk. And that's about it from my side. Maybe if you have some comments, I would like to hear what were your favorite things on Flutter Forward. So if anyone wants to share, please let us know in the chat so we can activate your mic if you cannot do it yourself. So if anyone has any questions, either on YouTube Live or here on Bevy, please write them up in the chat. But as we're waiting for that, Cagatay, how are you feeling?
Wow, I didn't know I was live. Thank you for inviting me, Sandro. And I would like to thank one more time because you are like one of the few people that can say my name correctly. Many people think it's like Cagatay, but yeah, you're saying it very well. Thank you.
Nice.
It's
Thanks.
exciting. I gave this talk in Flutter Berlin meetup, but this will be the first one online, and I would like to have this recorded and share our journey also as a blog post so that it can help the companies who are thinking to invest in Flutter or not. So it will be kind of a case study.
Cool. Sounds interesting. So I'm not sure, are you now a speaker or not?
But I can share
Is
my
your
screen.
screen being shared? No, that's the
Yes,
two of us.
I can share now.
I believe if I can just, yeah, you can.
Yes, sorry. Okay, now I think it should be okay, right? I can start.
Yeah, I believe it is. If anyone has any complaints, please let us know in the
Okay.
comments.
Then I can start then. Okay, thank you. One more time, hello everyone. I'm Cagatay, very excited to be here. Thanks to Sandro, GDG Zagreb for inviting me to this event. Let's start with a question. Sandro said in the beginning that this is Dash. Many Flutter developers know it, but on the right, if you are a Wolt user, you have seen this cutie here. But what is her name? It is Yuho. In this talk, I will share our experience of using Flutter in a rapidly growing company, the challenges and our learnings. I would like to briefly start with myself. I was a long-time Android developer and now have been doing Flutter for almost 2.5 years. I joined the Wolt as an Android and Flutter developer. Then I became a Flutter and Dart GDE last year. And now I'm working as a competence lead at Wolt. I'm not sure how many of you heard this term before, competence lead, because it was also new to me. In short, I'm responsible for 3 topics: hiring, maintaining the world-class technical recruitment for Wolt, for Flutter, and internal activities, owning and driving the competence area in the team, in the company, and externally making us proud of our craft with blog posts and open source projects, which we are currently working on. Hopefully soon we will share what we have been working on. It's an exciting role, but at this challenging because there are really interesting things on my plate. It's just hard to choose and prioritize. Okay, what is my talk about today? I will start with how to introduce Flutter to the company. And we will talk about how the Flutter was born in Flutter. Next thing is that how Flutter helped in a fast-growing company, how we shipped the first product, the insights from product people, our designers and product lead. And then how we onboarded native developers to Flutter. We merged a native team with a Flutter team. And then finally, what things to consider as the team grows. So we merged teams and we became bigger. So what are the things that we focused on to make this scalable team? Let's start with the state of let's start with the state of existing mobile applications at Wolt before introducing the Flutter. I believe that this will help to understand how Flutter fitted in the big picture. Long story short, the customers make orders using native mobile applications, iOS and Android. So this is the customer app. It is native iOS and native Android. And then we have the merchant app. It is native iOS only, and it's only for tablets. It's an iPad app. Then there is this courier app, which is in React Native. And then how does Flutter fit into this picture? In January 2020, we heard the news. Wolt is expanding beyond the restaurants and entering into the retail business. This is actually the reason I was hired at Wolt as an Android developer. I joined the retail team. And then as we entered this new retail business, a new team was formed. And from the best people from different teams. There was one engineering team lead, one product lead, one product designer, one Android developer, one iOS developer, one web developer, and two backend developers. So this team was responsible of forming the retail team and then introducing this to the company. But then quickly we realized that retail business is very different compared to the restaurants. Why? Because like you see here how a restaurant menu looks like, and then when you are in the retail, in the markets, you see that large assortments, so many products in the menu, and the challenges in the inventory management, the complexity of order fulfillment processes, and the speed and reliability of the picking orders. Finally, handling the missing items and substitutions. So these are different than restaurants. Now we have a business problem to solve. So as Wolt entered into the retail, it was clear that our current products that are optimized for restaurant operations could not properly support the needs and the challenges that new retail partners were facing. And we needed to build a standout solution. We targeted to optimize in-store operations efficiently. And then what it means, reducing the order preparation time, reducing the orders with manual orders, and orders that required support interaction. A standalone solution, yes, but with which technology? In growing companies, as the number of engineers and teams are increasing, so are the numbers of technologies being used in these companies. And to avoid getting into a messy and unmaintainable situation, we have to ensure that we choose the right tools and be careful with the personal preferences. The principle is very simple. First, think about the company. What is best for the company? Then, what is best for the team? And last, what is best for the individuals? I will now go through the factors we consider when choosing a technology at Wolt, but please also put yourselves in our shoes and think if it made sense to choose Flutter for this particular problem. First factor, existing team competence and talent pool. We need to think less about what individuals want and more focus on how we continue as a team. People in the team may leave, and where do we find the new talent? Are there enough talents in the pool? Also, another factor to consider when choosing a technology, existing tooling. So the companies, they provide only a selected number of technologies, and the unsupported technologies still will have the same requirements without support from core teams. What does this mean? So we have many different teams, but these teams need, for example, localizations tool, security support, code as infrastructure support. We can't provide everything. So that's why like the company can provide only selected technologies to these teams. An existing tech stack. We have at Wolt more than 60 teams today, and it is important to be able to work with foreign code bases and unblocked teams by contributing and sharing solutions. So if one team is stuck, for example, when we are doing Flutter, we might ask help from native Android teams or iOS teams when we need help from, for example, notifications or some Bluetooth problems. And existing solutions for similar problems, let's leverage what we can. They are battle tested and we know how to run them in production at scale. Another thing is forward thinking. Think about the scale and scaling. Solutions and technologies that work in our current size may not work when we scale 10 times. Another factor to consider, the motivation and willingness to invest learning. This is really important for Flutter because it's relatively new. Is a team motivated to build this solution using this technology? And sometimes it is okay to invest into totally new technologies like Flutter. And the team productiveness. We should consider technology that allows teams to move, initiate, and validate ideas fast. This sounds very good for Flutter. Also, service criticality. Services on lower tiers might offer good opportunities for teams wanting to experiment a bit. So if the service is not in the critical level, then we can be a bit experimental. But if it is really critical service, we really need to be sure about what we are doing. Okay, these were the criteria and the factors to consider. Now, let's see pros and cons for choosing Flutter. What are the pros? Existing team competence. When we formed this team, we had one Android and one iOS developer. Luckily, the Android developer had a Flutter experience, and then this helped us to move on with Flutter. It was a good thing. Existing tooling. So any application would require localization support, CI/CD tools, unit test, integration tests, and customer support tools. For example, in the company, we are using Phrase, we have GitHub Actions, we use Intercom for customer support. Are these tools supported for Flutter? We needed to prove that it was working. So yeah, Flutter supports these tools, existing tools that company already use in different projects. Another thing, motivation and willingness to invest into learning. We had people in the team who would like to experiment with Flutter, and this was really important thing. Service criticality. So for this particular case in retails, we already had a solutions that when you made an order, the restaurant had a printer, there was a paper, and then they could collect already from the shelves. So the service was not that critical when the app doesn't work because we already have these printers. And then team productiveness. Well, for Flutter, of course, we have hot reload and everything. And usually Flutter developers are very happy because all the things that Dart provides for developer happiness. Okay, these were the pros. Now let's see what were the cons for this time for Flutter. Existing tech stack. This was a con because there was no Flutter project in the company. So it was going to be experimental. Another con was that there was an existing solution already, which I mentioned, that is iPad app, native iOS app that was used by merchants. We were entering the retails. We could there was a possibility to extend that merchant iOS tablet app. And last one was the forward thinking, because everyone was asking, what if Google kills Flutter? This is the questions that I hear a lot. What is the risk of using Flutter in 5 years? And also, if we need a Flutter developer, are we able to find it? Is it easy to find developers? So this kind of questions at that time were not clear, but we still went with Flutter because of these pros listed in here. How we did it? I would like to talk about from zero to beta in 7 weeks of active work. We focused on CI/CD since day one to validate Flutter's technical fit, because we care about quality at Wolt. We should be able to run tests continuously and automating to deployment for test distribution. But we didn't have any users. Why we cared about that? Just because to show the company that this is possible. It is possible to build Wolt-grade quality applications with Flutter. We started in the end of August. You see our first commit with adding a login page. And then in the end of October, we get our first version for testing. Then we started in the end of October testing in the Wolt market. We made orders, and then we were sure that this was working in 7 weeks of active works. This is really a great time to prove an idea. I would like to add some quotes from our product lead, Matthias, for Flutter. He says that it is just fast and cost efficient. And he was the product lead in another company. And then he said that, like, with more developers, like much more than what we have here, with Flutter developers, we get more things done. But he also says that there are occasional situations where work needs to be done on the operating system level. For example, integrating external barcode scanners, printers. And this is a bit difficult, not because it is difficult for Flutter, but it is because for engineers. I'm an Android developer, but it has been such a long time that I didn't touch Android, and the concurrency with coroutines, I don't remember them. It's really like not easy to go back. Even if you go back and remember those days, then there is this iOS counterpart that you need to study. So people get hesitant a bit going out of Flutter and diving into the operating system specific things. So our product leads notice that. And then this is Scott, our product designer. From designer point, comparing to native development, working with Flutter allowed us to increase our pace for releasing and iteration. The time on design reviewing and was positively impacted because we were having multiple platforms feeding from the same code base. And the most layouts could easily be inspected because with Flutter, we have full control on the canvas. And it is very likely that when you test it on Android, it will be similar on iOS. So testing both platforms will take very little additional time. Yep. So when we have Android and iOS teams separately, your designer needs to talk with these teams separately. That means 2 times amount of design review work, extra interface. When you have one code base, you have direct interface. One person you can talk to who is responsible of the feature. The time on design reviewing. This is the most important part for designers. It is improved. Yeah. So when we had this success in Flutter with this project, we got interest from the native merchant team that I mentioned earlier. It was using iOS tablet app. Buying an iPad for Wolt orders is buying a Porsche for going to a grocery store only. This is a Wolt merchant app, user. What does this mean? So for restaurants, we were using iPads, and then the restaurant owners needed to buy an iPad. At first, this sounded very good because with iOS, you can provide really great user experience. But then this company was born in North, like in Finland, Sweden. So not every country, not every restaurant owner are happy buying iPad. They cost a lot. So just to accept an order and prepare an order, why do I need to buy an iPad? That was the question. So the business problem of the merchant team, the other team, they were having one fit for all solutions, the iPad for the restaurants. And they wanted to change that. And in this slide, I would like to mention how we approached this problem from engineering point as a team. Our goal is providing the best fit application and tooling to our merchants, right? We should do this fast. In a competitive industry like ours, this restaurant and grocery industry, the speed of value delivery and efficiency are game changers. If we do this right, we are doing great. We need to deliver fast with Wolt grade quality, also validate and iterate ideas fast. Our goal was being flexible with the devices that merchant app should run on. And we considered the supported device categories from 2 different dimensions. One dimension was platform, which is either Android or iOS. And another dimension is the device screen size, whether it is mobile handset or large screen tablet. Considering this matrix, the merchant team was using this iPad, large screen iOS. So it is only one field in this 2x2 matrix. We needed to provide also support for Android mobile phone, Android tablet, and also iOS mobile phone version. Yeah, and we needed to do this fast and efficient. So this merchant app had this native iOS app, and they needed an Android version of it. And this was possible in 2 ways. The first option was adding new Android developers to the team. and they would build the app from scratch. And the other option was choosing multi-platform development, which means one code base that produces iOS and Android applications. And the team made their decision according to the best interest of the company. There's already Picker app in Flutter, provides solutions from one code base, and it's proven to deliver fast with Wolt grade quality. And then eventually we chose to join forces and decided to deliver the best experience to the merchants, no matter they are retailers or restaurants. I would like to give the credit to this team because it is not easy to deprecate your own application, your own native iOS application, your baby. So they chose what is best for the company, and then they switched to Flutter, joined these forces with this project. Okay, when we merged these teams, how we onboarded native iOS developers. Now I will talk about this. I would like to add some quotes here. We asked these iOS developers, what were your concerns about Flutter? So one iOS developer, Andre, said that, well, he didn't join our team. He didn't want to do Flutter. He continued with iOS when we merged the teams. So his opinions were that all other cross-platform solutions failed. You can look at React Native. To me, it's a complete failure. So we know that cross-platform has bad reputation. There are many reasons for that. That's why Team Sinit emphasizes that Flutter is not a cross-platform solution, but a multi-platform solution, just because not to be affected from this bad reputation. And he says that so many companies jumped on the hype and had to reverse the decision and then rewrite the code into native. We heard that, for example, there is this famous Airbnb story that had application in React Native and then they switched to native. This is a very famous story. And then I think there was one more, but I forgot anyway. And most of the time, you would spend much more time trying to make things work properly in React Native. That was his comment. He said that, I understand Flutter is in a much better state compared to React Native, but it is still a gamble. Everyone asks this question. It is very difficult to answer. What if Google drops support? I think today Tim Sinit shared an article about the strategy of Google on Flutter in 2023. And in this document, he really tried to make sure that Google will keep supporting Flutter and their strategy on how to continue this. Another issue is hiring. Most of engineers are not going to focus Flutter as most of the jobs are in native. This is a bit true. Like, let's be honest, there are not many Flutter jobs. And with these kind of presentations and case studies, we would like to show that Flutter really made impact in our company. Another Flutter developer. This is Ali, our iOS developer, who became a Flutter developer. And I asked him the question, how did you feel about a pause to iOS and trying Flutter? He says he is open-minded and wanted to try different stacks, which broaden developers' horizon and new perspectives on solving the same problem in a different way. So you got this new idea. For example, if you are an Android developer, iOS developer doing this imperative development, now you will have a chance to see how Flutter did this declarative approach when doing UI development. This is Raza, another iOS developer who switched to Flutter. He says, I like trying new technologies. I'm, however, sad that starting something new will mean I will have to balance my time getting more in depth with iOS. So this is also true. I was Android developer. I also started Flutter. I thought that I would still be up to date with Android, but it takes a lot of time, even just to stay in Flutter, because it's crazy with Flutter work, right? There are so many things going on and you need to follow. It's not possible to follow everything. So balancing time, investing in iOS and at the Flutter is not easy. I understand. The next question, what were your concerns before starting to work with Flutter? Ali said, one of my concerns is what if Google kills Flutter? And it's still valid for him. And the other one was talent acquisitions, which seeing all these amazing people here and today, like here, it's not a valid concern because he says that like he saw the community he saw the hype, and he's not really worried about the talent question anymore. And Raza said that writing platform-specific code is a bit more complicated than he thought. And surprise was that Flutter ecosystem was very well documented, and there are many contributors to the project. So this is not this is something different to the iOS developers. Like Flutter is open source, and there's so much contribution from the community, and it was welcome for Raza. Another question: what were your ways of learning Flutter? If you start now, what would you do differently? Ali said that he followed official Flutter tutorials. But he built those small projects one by one all the time, and he now sees this as a waste of time. He would start developing something small instead. And Raza says that I watch examples and look at the existing code, but he just jumped our big project, so which was different from starting like a small app. But he said he would start with an example app somewhere and grow with that, like Ali. In what ways Flutter provides a better developer experience than iOS? Ali is amazed with hot reload, Flutter's hot reload. And seeing this instant feedback, it is great. Apple tried that with Swift UI preview, but that's not very reliable, and it's just for a single view, and it's not on a real device, right? It's a preview. In what ways iOS provides a better developer experience? Ali says iOS does logging way better than Flutter, especially on unit test failures. The logs from Flutter is a Russian roulette. It either kills you to find the why the expectation failed, or you were left empty-handed. This is the case, especially when you have these widget overflows, like pixel overflows. It's very hard to track what is going on. I think this is a valid point. Okay, how are we onboarding these iOS developers to our team? Well, we talk to them. We ask them how they feel. We ask them, do they need any help, pair programming, and documentation? So we have this quarterly survey, and we ask their opinions about how do you feel about Flutter? What are your pain points? We are a small team. You see the initial response. Like we also ask like about the architecture. Are you able to follow and read the code easily? Luckily, in our project, we have a very good architecture. Then we ask like, what are your pain points with Flutter? In what topics do you need internal training? For example, do you understand how state management works with Flutter? Do you understand the navigation? How about the cache? How about the service layer, repository things? Okay, so this is how we onboarded. Now, scaling. We merged two teams, and what is important now? Let's talk about this. Most important thing is mutually agreed, consistent, and clearly documented architectural decisions. This is really important. We wrote RFC documentation about our architecture so that everyone understands what is going on, and it is easy to onboard new people. Another thing is that when the architecture is easy to understand, onboarding will be easy. This is really important because time to make the first significant contribution to the project. This is a KPI. If a new developer joins the team and can make a contribution fast, then you have a good architecture. Yes, it should be straightforward to add new features to the code. And also good level of abstraction between the feature sets, because now we have multiple teams contributing to the same project. So we need to have good abstraction so that we don't touch in the code at the same place. Also, testable is very important. We need to have unit tests, and the code base should be written in a way that it is testable. As I said, we have multiple teams contributing to the repository on a daily basis. When we are scaling, we will have more developers. So we need to decrease the number of conflicts when we are merging to the project. Okay, so we have layered architecture in our project. I'm not going to go into the details what layered architecture is, but I will just add this. I just added this slide to show that we have this kind of discussions in the team. Okay, this is our architecture. And should we continue with features in layers or layers in features? For this kind of discussions, we have our RFCs, and everyone can contribute to this RFC with their opinions. And then it's transparent, this architecture. Another thing is testing. When we scale, we need to provide Wolt-grade quality. What does this mean? You see on the right this Agile Testing Manifesto. This is not something we wrote. It is, you can find it on the internet. So testing pyramid. What does this mean? We prioritize first unit tests. The number of unit tests should be the most, you should have unit test most in the project, and then the widget tests, and finally end-to-end integration tests. We also have high unit and widget test coverage, so that we got immediate feedback when we open the PR. And then we have a non-mocked integration test that allows us cover E2E, end-to-end, most important user flows. For example, we have user flow for accepting order, making a substitution, like that. And feature testing, when we open a PR, we really test it with the reviewer, and we add screenshots, we add screen recording to show that this works. So PR reviewing and feature testing is really important before merging to the project. And also we have test plans. When we have a ticket, we plan how to test it. Before the development, we talk about these are things to test. And during the development, when you are testing, when you're developing, you see like what to test so that we avoid the bugs in the project. Then the mutual ownership. When it is asked like, who is the responsible person from QA in the team? The answer is the team, not the QA engineer in the team. So it means mutual ownership in the quality. Okay, thank you. This was a brief talk, but we are hiring for Flutter developers at Wolt. If you are interested, you can apply. Okay, Sandro, do you hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Cagatay, for a great presentation. Didn't expect any less from you.
So I'm not sure because it was a bit late in the evening. I wasn't able to focus that much. I tried to explain this. I just don't want it to be like a company ad, because like this is a really real life story, and that we need to learn. We need to understand how to talk with native developers when we have a business problem, how we should approach it, and what kind of things we should consider before choosing a technology to solve these problems, because there are many options.
Yeah, right. So now let's see, is there any questions for Cagatay, or maybe for my presentation that was before? Anyone is welcome to ask now, and we'll try to answer to the best of our abilities. Marco is asking, are you hiring, Cagatay?
Yes, this is the questions I receive a lot. I'm not hiring because when I share these posts about we are hiring at Flutter, it is not me. I'm helping for the technical interview, but at Wolt, we are hiring because we are growing. There's so many things to figure out.
Okay, we have another question. Boris thanks you for a great presentation and asks, how would you compare Flutter experience compared to React Native?
This is a great question. I also received this question a lot. I think it is not really easy to answer these questions objectively, because like there are really few people that has spent the same amount of time both with Flutter and React Native. For example, you spent like 2 years in Flutter, and then you switch to React Native, and then you spend another time, then you forget about like Flutter, or like Flutter changed a lot. So I think it is difficult to answer this question, but Flutter and React Native, they have their own places. So imagine like you're in a conference and someone comes to you. Okay, what do you think about Flutter? Should I use Flutter or React Native? I'm starting totally new project. And the answer is, I would say that, what is the status right now? How many developers you have? Are they JavaScript developers? Do you already have front-end project with React? Do you already have React components? So if yes, then use React Native. This is a solution that works for you. But otherwise, I would personally suggest Flutter if I'm starting something from scratch, because of the reasons that you have the full control on the canvas. There is amazing developer experience with Dart. Dart can compile to different languages, JavaScript, now WebAssembly, C. You can have ahead of time compilation, just in time compilation. Dart is like really powerful language. And with Flutter, you will have like really great opportunities because the community is growing really fast. Yeah, I would continue. I would go with Flutter, but the question was like, I don't have personally React Native experience. The React Native architecture is changing also. So React Native uses the native components, native UI libraries from the phone when you are developing mobile application. What Flutter does is that Flutter is not using these components from your phone. Instead, it draws these things on the phone pixel by pixel. So it gives more flexibility. And React Native, like I hear many times that people are having problems just because of this compatibility issue. Like there are libraries that try to create a bridge between the other packages. So they have this maintainability issue. I hope I tried to answer the question. I don't know.
Nice. We have a lot of more questions coming on YouTube and here. So the next one, I think, from Javiera, says it's an informative session. And then the question is, can you please tell about company culture as well? Being from Pakistan, can I apply? Let's say for remote or hybrid position.
Yes, sure. Like for this position, there is relocation support to Germany and Helsinki, but the company culture, like you can find all the details on the website, but I don't really want to make this session like a company ad because we really want to talk about Flutter and experience. I can say that to answer this question, yes, you can apply from everywhere, and there is relocation support. Yeah.
Nice. And then I believe question from YouTube came first before. So question is, are you also hiring product designers?
Yeah, there are many open positions in the website. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Nice. And then a question from Josip. If I understand right, you have Flutter app for restaurants and non-Flutter app for customers. Does it often happen that you need to implement the same feature on both ends, and which team does it better? Ooh, that's a nice question.
So I would like to share this screen again. So existing apps before Flutter and where Flutter fit in. So we had this customer app, which was native iOS and Android. The customer makes an order. And then the merchant prepares this order, receives the order from the merchant app, which was native iOS. And then there was this courier app that takes the order from the merchant and gives it to the consumer. And Flutter fit in when we had these retail stores that was helping to pick and prepare the orders. And then merchant app was a native iOS app, needed an Android support. Instead of starting something new, with Android team, they decided to join the Flutter train, and the picker app that is used for picking and preparing the orders just scaled and supported all the features needed. So instead of native iOS tablet app, we had Flutter apps. Okay, and then this is a solution, right? And then we have our native apps here, customer. This is a really important question. I receive this question a lot. Why the customer app is not Flutter then, if you are really happy about Flutter? Just because being native is always advantage. Let's admit, not always advantage, but if I mean, think about that. You have full control of everything, and you can provide the full potential of your device with native applications. That's why if you have resources, if you have money, if you can employ separate teams, then you can choose to continue with the customers because you want to have the full potential of the devices without any risk. Because this kind of not restaurant, but this delivery industry is very competitive. If you really fail, then they will switch to another run and you will lose your customers. So you shouldn't make any mistake and you shouldn't take risks. If you can afford if you can afford the native app, then you get the full potential of your device. You don't risk anything. But with Flutter, I still think that there is not many risk. But yeah, for this industry, consumer app is much better for the customers. But the question was that how about the the feature delivery? I can easily say that we really deliver fast with Flutter, with even less developers. But this is not a competition in the end. But it is clear, and clear because of the reasons that, for example, think very simple, right? You have a data analyst, and they want you to track some analytic events, right? Then in a native platform, you could just go to Android people and iOS people, and then they have their own implementation of analytics, and you get the results. But you need to wait for releasing, right? You need to wait for when is this feature going to be released, and wait for Android and iOS, and then get the results. And also, one team might get it wrong while the other team gets right. But when you are cross-platform, you have one code base. You don't have to wait for two teams to get the results, and you can't have two different results because you're implementing it only once. Again, as I mentioned in my slides, from design perspective, you don't really have to dive into iOS and Android separately. So because you have the full control of the canvas, pixel by pixel with Flutter, the changes will be really minimal. That's why it speeds up the processes.
Nice, thank you. And we have new questions. Another from Javeria, one last thing. What stacks languages are you using for backend?
Yeah, for backend, if I'm not wrong, because I'm not a backend person, we have Scala, we have Python, and Go.
Nice. And then Dominic.
Sorry. Forgot to say Kotlin as well. But we have a tech radar, I think, if I'm not wrong. You can find all this information in the website.
Cool. And then Dominic asks, how long did the transition period from native to Flutter lasted? And how you do new features in the transition period in native?
That's an amazing question. Because I just made this presentation to the company today. That's why I'm a bit tired. It took 2 months to provide all the large screens for the tablet, because the Flutter app originally only meant to support the mobile handsets, because when you are picking, you're obviously not picking from the shelves and packaging with tablets, right? You have it in your hand, you pick it. It was designed for small screens. And then it took only 2 months to provide all the screens for tablet with responsive screens. In fact, I think it was 2 days ago or something, I shared on Twitter how we do the responsive design. Yeah. Another thing, can you repeat the question? That was one thing, how long it took.
And the other part of the question was, how did you do new features in the transition period in native?
In native, no, we deprecated native. In the transition time, we deprecated native. We didn't bring any new. Okay, we were maintaining it, but we didn't touch the native app. We were bringing all the new features to Flutter. And how we had iOS developers contributing to the Flutter was that we were helping them with pair programming and with extensive documentation.
Okay, thank you for the answers. We can wait a minute or two. Maybe there are some more questions. But after that, we're transitioning to the quiz. Everyone is welcome to play and have a chance to win. Maybe not you, Cagatay, because you already have the coupons,
Well,
probably.
I think
But you can play. You
yeah.
can play if you end up in first place or something. We're just gonna put you to fourth or something.
Yeah, I just want to say that, like, while waiting, because I've been giving presentations in different events and everywhere. Like in every presentation, in every talk, I learned something new. And today, what I learned is that, like, it is difficult after a long day to give a talk. That's why, like, I had some focus problems in the beginning, and then later I was a bit more focused.
Okay. We have some more questions. One from you and one from me, it seems. So first, for you, have you ever published an app with both native and Flutter screens side by side?
No, I don't have this experience, but I shared my personal experience. I'm actually just about to share my side project, but having so much difficulties with Apple right now. But yeah, I think I received this question because we want to see the performance of both apps, right? We want to make sure about this. I want to answer this question in a different way. What Flutter does, we really need to understand, because the performance really depends on two things. One is your device. So Flutter provides you algorithms that can help you to deliver performant apps. So if you have a device that can provide 120 frames per second, you will have a really smooth experience. But this is not enough. You really need to do things right. So if you don't have a lazy list, for example, if you are putting all the components at once, if you are building the app very often, this really decreases the performance. So I hear many times that, okay, Flutter web apps are not very performant. Okay, at some point they are not really as performant as React apps, but again, like, it is also about how you are implementing it. There are so many practices that can lead bad performance, and I don't believe that really it is possible with complicated apps to compare side by side the performance. But what you can do, having this simple list, and then you can try. I believe that Flutter gives really good performance with this, especially on mobile phones.
Nice. Thanks for the answer. And one question for me, it seems. Are there some examples for element embedding in Flutter? We mentioned element embedding and how Flutter can communicate with native parts. There is an example. So I'm going to share a screen. So there is the exact example that we have seen there. So now I can, the example that we've seen that Tim was doing. I'm not sure is there a source code for this, but you can definitely find the link to the example in the article, and you can see here. So yeah, we can do shadows, no shadows, mirror, no mirror. We can also, while it is spinning, we can change the application entirely. So we can do this custom applications, and I guess, yeah, I can type in here and the application. This is really amazing. This is really amazing. So this Flutter embedded application is manipulated through native JavaScript, I would presume, and these are native HTML elements. We can, I cannot hit the button. Yeah, I hit it. Yeah, everything works. Everything works surprisingly smoothly. Like, I'm really surprised. So yeah, there are. This is the example. I am not source code. Okay. If there aren't any, yeah, it's good. If there aren't any more questions, I think we can start with the the quiz. So everyone, prepare your phones. You're gonna have to scan a QR code to join the game. And then, okay, let's just, sometimes people have problems with that QR, and sometimes people have to go manually to www.kahoot.it. Okay, let me just, I will just stop sharing for a moment and then share just that tab so you can also see music, hear music, or maybe see music. So yeah, I'm gonna try to zoom in on the QR code. If you have trouble with QR code, please comment on YouTube or here, and you'll probably need to join with the directly going to the website and typing the game pin, and maybe that this pattern that's behind the QR code, and you cannot move the QR code. Okay, we have one player currently joined. I guess we'll start maybe when we collect a couple more players, hopefully maybe 10 players would be a nice number, but we'll see. If we're gonna wait, I believe 5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. So 35. So yeah, nice, 3 players. Okay, at least we have because we have three coupons that Chata brought. So and then maybe if you, so everything you need to do is to just okay, I will remove the QR for a moment for those of you who need to enter the URL manually, and then the game pin and this pattern that keeps changing. Yeah.
Sandro, it says you need to match this. What does this mean?
Yeah, this is this pattern here that
I
keeps
don't know.
changing.
How do you match it? What is
I
it
don't
mean?
know. Probably press those shapes in the order that they're
It's very
presented
confusing.
here. Yeah, it is a bit confusing. Previously, it just worked with QR, but nowadays it keeps asking the pattern. So I believe you just press it in this order. Yeah.
Oh, finally I made it. This is not easy, really. I think the quiz will be easier than this one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the part of the game.
So I would like to share, because Patrick had the same issue. You just need to press the buttons according to the order. But this order always changes, so it's really
Yeah,
annoying.
I saw. I didn't understand at the first what was the pattern at all.
Yeah, Josip says that was the hard first question. Okay, I think 7. Maybe we'll just. Is it really too loud, or Marco is just joking? Is it too loud? No one is complaining. Okay, I believe we can start, right? Okay, let's start the quiz. So the first question is gonna be just for practice, and you can select anything. The first question is not for points. And the first question is, okay. Just, are you ready? Every answer is correct. Practice. And then all the other questions will, for all questions, will have 20 seconds to answer, and all of the questions will have just a single correct answer. Oh, really? Is that loud sound? I will reduce the sound. Okay, everyone correct, of course. 0 points question, so nothing's changed. Let's go. First real question. What's the current version of Flutter? 3.8,
I just upgraded today.
3.6, 3.7, or 3.9?
Oh, you don't ask the minor. Sorry, you don't ask the patch. You ask the match.
Yeah,
Major
just
and minor.
just minor. Make it easy. Or to see who was listening carefully. Do I need to mute Kahoot entirely, or is it okay now?
I think it's okay.
Okay. Okay. Just 2 correct answers. What is it? Why is it not continuing? Okay, I have to press it.
What?
Okay. Whoa.
What was the
Cagatay.
answer? What was it? Was it
It was the C.
3.7?
It was the C.
I pressed. Wasn't it 3.7?
Yeah, 3.7. Yeah.
I pressed 3.7. Okay, maybe I didn't.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Next one. What was the first version 1.0 of Flutter released? 2018, 2020, 2017, 2019.
It was December. Was it?
Mm-hmm. 5 more seconds. And 4 correct answers. Let's go.
Yeah, I got something.
Yeah. Patrick is still the first. Dominic and Javiera. Let's go. How many Flutter developers are there in the world? Over 7 million, over 5 million, over 4 million, or over 6 million? Yeah, 2 more seconds. And over 5 million is the correct answer. Let's see who got the most points. Patrick still. Nice.
Congrats.
Boris came to the leaderboard. Next question. How many Flutter apps have been published on Google Play? Over 700,000? This is incorrect. 700,000, over 500,000, over 800,000, or over 600,000?
You know, Tim Seed shared a blog post today, and there it says that 1 of every 5 apps are done with Flutter.
Wow.
But I don't know
huge.
how many apps this is.
Yeah, 700,000, it said. Let's see. Patrick still in the lead, answering every question first and correct. Wow, nice. Okay, it's nothing changed. Dominic, Boris. Let's see. Where does Flutter rank in terms of contribution in the open source community? 2nd place, 4th place, 1st place, 3rd place. So the number of contributions to the Flutter repository.
This is a good one.
3rd place. 4 correct answers. Nice. Let's see. Oh, Patrick didn't make it on time. Dominic in the lead now. Let's go to the next one. What platforms does Flutter support?
What platform does not Flutter support?
That's
the question.
So we have B, all listed platforms. That seems like a correct answer. I'm not going to read the rest even. And all listed platforms. Let's see. Patrick in the lead again. Dominic and Boris still on the leaderboard.
Surprise, the king is...
Cagatay. Yeah, Cagatay. Still a chance there. Mario, maybe. Let's see. What is Flutter's most popular game engine? Water, wind, fire, or flame? Oh, fire and flame, similar words, but flame is the correct one. Let's see. Dominic again in the lead. Wow, this is a interesting combat. True or false? So 50% chance. New feature which allows Flutter content to be added to any standard web is called element embedding. True or false? We seen it a while ago. True. Let's see. Dominic still in the lead. Boris, Maria. Nice. All close. Okay, Dominic has a lot more. This is... What is the name of the Flutter mascot? Birdie, Duck Duck, Dash, or Fuddy?
Duck.
All correct. 7 correct answers. Nice. Let's see who was the fastest. Dominic. Wow. Patrick, do you have anything to say?
Not right.
Yeah, so now we're going to the last question. True or false? Is Dart now a fully no-safe language? Now is a bit misleading.
Yes, define now.
Yeah. Yeah, but everyone understands what we're aiming at here. So, of course, it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
What? This is
I
tricky.
mean, I mean, you're talking about Dart 3. I agree, it was a tricky question.
Not yet.
But let's see. Boris, 3rd place. Patrick, 2nd place, and we assume Dominic, of course.
Congrats.
So please, Patrick, Dominic, and Boris, I'm not sure. Are you all on our GDG Discord, maybe?
I'm not.
Okay. Do you want to join Discord or?
Yeah, I will do it after this meeting.
Okay, cool. Now links are probably on our GDG. Okay, maybe I will just put a link here in the chat. Where's the? Let me just. And then you can contact me or anyone there. So I will give you the coupons for Wolt discount that you want. Let me just find the invite. Okay, putting it in the chat. So yeah, congratulations to all the winners. Cagatay, thank you again for amazing
It was a
talk.
pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone has any last words, final words, or questions, we will be here for another couple of minutes to answer them. Definitely no questions. Yeah, Marco put a better link here in the chat. That's a link to all of the links. The master link. Okay, we have a question for Cagatay. What are your favorites in Flutter
3.7.
3.7?
Yes. Well, I was really waiting for this full list of material design because, as I mentioned, we are in the process of supporting large screens in our project. And I really needed this navigation drawer so bad that comes with Disney version. And then Dart 3, it's not there yet, but we are still, we can experiment with it. I'm passionately waiting for it because, as I said, I'm a long-time Android developer. We had sealed classes there. Sealed classes is going to help us a lot, especially if you are a block users, because we won't need freezed anymore. Like, okay, we will still need freezed for copy with and other things, but at least for unions and sealed classes, it's really good. And embedded, this web embedding thing really opens lots of opportunities to introduce Flutter to other teams in big companies such as ours.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Marco says Grail. Any more questions? Good question.
Why is
Why
my
is your
pink?
room pink?
Wait, what color do you want? Because I can change. Okay, it's not pink anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Philips Hue. It's cool. I really like it.
Nice.
Now it's more.
Which colors do you have?
You can pick any color.
Oh, any. You can write
Any color.
text.
You don't have Philips Hue?
No.
I think all developers have Philips Hue.
No, but I will definitely. Can you put a link here in the chat? I think everyone wants it now.
Right, this is the device, like really. Ooh.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it is. Like you can change color with your mobile phone. And this is a Flutter app. This is Philips Hue, and it's done
Okay,
with Flutter.
yeah. Okay, everyone has to buy that.
Yes.
On the app. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. This became a Philips ad. You need to add this to YouTube. There is this embedded ad in this video.
Yeah, but it's only natural to have ads on the end of the video on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a ad here.
Yeah. Okay, we have another question. We're having a good time. Have you ever tried KMM?
Kotlin multi-platform. Kotlin, I didn't try Kotlin multi-platform, but I see. What?
Yeah, I didn't get that this was Kotlin multi-platform.
It's KMP, Kotlin multi-platform. I think it's Kotlin because it's one thing that I can imagine. So with Kotlin multi-platform, as far as I know, you share your business logic. You write your business logic in Kotlin, and then it's used in UI layer with native. For example, iOS developers can still do Swift development, UI development. Android developers do their own stuff with Android UI layers, but the business logic is shared and written in Kotlin. I don't have experience. It has stayed in the alpha for such a long time. I don't know. There are people using it. At least my previous company, the company I worked on, they are using Kotlin multi-platform in production. So it's good, but it's not a problem. I mean, it's not solving the UI problem. I think Jetpack Compose would be another alternative that would solve UI. Oh, Kotlin multi-platform mobile. True. Kotlin multi-platform has different, I think, things. Yeah, different solutions. About the feature of Kotlin I don't know personally, because Kotlin is a really great language. I think Flutter has great potential because of the contributions. Like one big example is Sandro. He has an amazing package that has been used widely in the Flutter community, and there are so many amazing developers. And if you see again the post by Tim Snead shared today, they are really trying to make it open source in a way that it's already open source, but like a open project. They want to emphasize that, okay, Google is backing this, Google is paying the salaries of these people but then Flutter is much more than what Google is bringing to the table. Do you think that Compose, Flutter, and Swift are all going the same direction? Yes, this is really the UI trends. In fact, if you are a Flutter developer and if you start Jetpack Compose, you will see that most of the classes have the same name. For example, Jetpack Compose has a scaffold. They are doing the same things. They are doing declarative UI. And again, one side note is that Jetpack Compose developers was working closely with Flutter developers. They got some insights about how to do things. So they're all going to the same direction. Yes, declarative UI. It's much more fun. I am, as I said, long-time Android developer. I hated working with XML and Android code and then imperative development. And I didn't know about declarative UI before starting Flutter. And after I started, I said, like, what was I doing? I'm not going back.
Nice. I also have a question for you. So as you were helping in the organization of Flutter Vikings last year, do you have any information about this year? Is it really going to be on a boat?
The good thing about Flutter community is that there are now many big conferences. And Flutter Vikings, thanks to Majid, they did amazing work to be a role model, like an example conference. And they raised the bar so high. Last year, we were there. We had great time with amazing people. And this year there will be Flutter Berlin conference, and I still didn't write my call for papers.
Yeah, I'm also preparing
It-
to put the paper there. Yeah.
It takes time, right? And yeah, anyway, Berlin is going to be amazing. It's going to be already so many tickets are sold, but Flutter Vikings is a brand. Like it's like now it has a big reputation. So Majid is planning to do it. I talked to Majid several times. I offered help if he does it in Finland, Helsinki, because I live in Helsinki. But he's now investigating the options. What would be better? But one thing about Nordic countries is that it's really expensive and it's not open. Like, I don't know, Sandro, how you felt. I live in Finland. It's already expensive, but Norway was another level. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
organizing events in these countries are not helping everyone. Okay, I can afford this. And even I was in the organization, and thanks to Majid, I got things for free. And now I'm a GDE. I also get support from Google. But I think it should be available to everyone, so that I hope there will be some I don't know, some help for people who cannot afford it, because traveling to these countries and staying there is expensive. But about the Flutter Vikings, there is work ongoing. Majid is working on that, and now he is seeing the options which country can host it.
Interesting.
And it's going to be a Nordic country for sure, because it's Flutter Vikings.
Yeah.
I don't actually, just to clarify about the tickets, like I'm just helped to the previous Flutter Viking, so I don't want to take any credit. I just helped very little, because I just don't respect Majid all the way. He did amazing work. I was just very small, helpful. And for the next year, I'm not in the committee. I would volunteer if help is needed.
Okay, another question.
To you, Sandro.
Oh yeah, that's to me. What new features will come to Beamer in the new update? Will you create a new library in the future? That's two good questions. I'm planning to write a comprehensive document about the roadmap to Beamer version 2. I plan to publish it this weekend. So I was So a couple of big new features, like there's gonna be a breaking change in this. For example, beam locations are not gonna be called beam locations anymore, but beam stacks. This is something I've been thinking for years now, and yeah, I will finally make that move. And there's gonna be a new feature in the structuring of routes that's gonna hopefully make some scenarios easier to understand for new developers. And recently I received a pull request that implemented a cool example for Beamer with RiverPod and with locally storing the last visited navigation the routes. So when you kill the app and turn it on again, it will remember where you were or something like that. So this was interesting. So we thought, okay, why don't we add some storage capabilities into Beamer, like something similar to hydrated block, for example. So yeah, we're gonna work on that. There's gonna be a couple of more improvements, but yeah, soon I will publish the comprehensive guide.
Sandro, let's talk about packages, right? It's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of work. Do you do this in your work time or in your free time?
In my free time, yeah.
So that's a big commitment.
Yeah, that's really hard, especially when you really have a lot of work. You simply cannot, and when you cannot do it 1 day, 2 days, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it gets harder and harder to get back into it and really keep it living like it was before. So in the beginning, it was a very I was doing a lot because there were features needed, had ideas, had stuff to implement, but now it is pretty stable, and I had a lot of work and I had some sickness and traveling something, so I didn't do much lately, but yeah, now I'm trying to revive it again and
Yeah.
make it even better.
At Wolt, we are going to publish, at least we are aiming, publish 2 open source libraries this
Nice.
year. One will be the scrollable bottom sheet and model, responsive scrollable model, something like that. That we think it is really useful for apps like
Yeah,
ours. You
yeah. I
have
saw
you
on
seen that video?
Twitter. You
Yeah.
published on Twitter something a few
Yeah.
days ago. Yeah.
So we are planning to open source this one. Another one is our own state management. Okay, it's not going to be yet another state management library, but it is our opinionated way of how we do block. Okay, we apply the block pattern, but how we do it in a big project, we want to write articles and eventually just make it open the code. I mean, it doesn't have to be a fancy library like block and riverpod. This is just because about state management, I think people focus too much on the libraries. They are just tools. Instead of focusing on the libraries, focus on the problem. Because we use MVVM, model VV model, and then block suits it very well, but we don't want to have this opinionated with the block library. We solve the problem in our way. And I just want to show people that you don't have to choose among libraries, just focus on the problem, solve it.
Yeah, good advice.
And also, Sandro, I'm going to apply for Flutter Berlin. I'm going to talk about Navigator 2, and my topic will be reactive navigation management. Well, I'm not going to talk. I'm going to apply if they select me. But anyway, it's going to be Navigator 2, like your favorite topic, but not with a library again.
Wow, that's so interesting. Interesting. And that's so good that you told me that. Because I was planning to apply a similar topic, but now I'm gonna think about it even more. Definitely, we'll have a talk on Twitter, and so to see that we don't apply the same thing. Because I was also planning, as a part of Beamer version 2 roadmap, I plan to really dug deep into the source code of Navigator and Router, and really plan to understand it fully. I mean, I have a very good understanding at the moment how it works, but really I want to know every line. And then I plan to write a series on Medium from basics to I saw yours.
It was 2020. I hate my code that I published.
It is old, yes.
It was really because people said, hey, GDE, you are a GDE. Look at your code. It sucks. I received that message. Yes, I understand. But it was the first time that I joined. Like when I started doing Flutter, I started with Navigator 2. Think about it. So that's why the code was not the best. But I think the idea behind that was clear. And it still applies today.
Yeah.
But in my talk, I'm planning to, if not Berlin, somewhere else, I'm planning to show how you can manage the navigation with reactive state management like block.
That's really interesting, and that is what the Navigator 2.0 was aiming at. But the problem is that most users don't want to do that because it seems too complicated and too different from, because users really do want to just do push pop. And so to connect those two worlds is really difficult. And
I think it is not.
Yeah, and I had a feature like, and every navigation package is now doing something like that looks like imperative navigation and not declarative. And Beamer, I was really trying hard. In Beamer, you can do custom states that can be change notifiers that will guide the navigation. But nobody is doing that. But in Beamer, you can do that. You can insert your own navigation state into.
Nice. But you know what, Sandro? The problem is that it is really hard to have pure Navigator 2 because when you call a bottom sheet, when you show a dialog, you open a new root, and then syncing your root state is not easy, because you are calling it imperatively, and then then you break this state management that is totally declarative.
Yeah, indeed, and that is but you can define pages and routes for dialogue, I think.
That's
but
what I
for
do.
bottom sheet you cannot. And I think I saw that I was in the source code, and all of the classes for generating bottom sheets, I think, are private, and you cannot use them to export them out and create a route that would represent that bottom sheet. I think I had one example with that, and I was aiming to check that again and do a PR to Flutter if that's still the case, because I clearly remember that you can do declarative navigation with dialogues, but you
Yes.
cannot with bottom sheets.
Okay, shit.
Yeah.
Because I'm now at that point because I use I have medium series where I have dialogue as a root, but I didn't try it with bottom sheet, but I was relying on that for my next package. Let's see. Okay, we will find a way. Anyway, let's
Nice.
not lose the context here.
Yeah,
It was amazing
yeah.
to talk to you. We should have this talk in Dartists on Twitter.
I agree. I'll nudge Mangerdas too.
Are you going to Berlin?
Probably. I'm first gonna apply the talk. I'm not sure. I haven't yet checked the tickets. I'm hope we'll see. But yeah, I plan to go definitely.
Awesome.
And
Hope to see you there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah. Okay, Marco says 420 euros.
Yeah. Oh. Yes. I hope your company will pay for it.
Yeah. But when you're yourself are your own company, then yeah, that's.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have my company. I'm doing a lot of. I have main project and doing some freelancing. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So yeah,
it was a big pleasure.
Thank you for joining. Really pleasure to talk to you, and I'm glad you gave this talk to us.
I hope it was useful.
8 p.m. Time to wrap up.
It's 9 p.m. here. My wife is waiting for me.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks to everyone joining, and see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.